In the last lecture, we completed the first of the 7 steps for the project in this course, and that first step was to join Quora and optimize your profile. In this lecture, we're moving on to step 2, which is to identify the questions that are worth answering. You want to make sure that you don't waste your time. It will take time to answer questions, so you need to be strategic about the types of questions that you answer. And from my experience, there are 2 viable approaches that you can take. And I'm going to walk you through each of these strategies in this lecture. The first is the rapid fire strategy, and the second is the big game strategy. So let me start by explaining what the rapid fire strategy is and how you would go about carrying this out. Essentially, what we want to do is to identify smaller questions, but that are similar. So we're going to post a similar answer on a lot of similar questions. We want to look for questions that have at least 1,000 views, so we know that they're popular enough to get us some views and traffic back to our website, but not too competitive, so less than 5 answers. This is the strategy that's perfect for beginners. It's going to be easy for you to become the top answer, essentially. That's the aim of the game, because that's where all the visibility happens. So how do you carry out the rapid fire strategy? Let's come into Quora, and what you want to do now is search for a keyword that you think your potential customers will be looking for. So for me, for example, website traffic. I'm going to type this into the Quora search bar, and I'm just going to hit enter. Now what comes up here is that there's a whole topic for website traffic, but I'm just going to come down to the end and click search here, because what I want to see are the topics, but more importantly the questions that have this word in the question itself. And as I scroll down the questions, I can start to separate them out. And as we said, for these smaller questions, we're really looking for questions that maybe have 5 or less answers. Now, this is a maybe, but let's keep going down. We've got 12, we've got 29, 41, 12. Here we go, quickest way to boost website traffic, 9. So it seems like a lot of the questions here actually have more than 5 answers. So let's just even come into this and have a look at how many views this question has. So what we can see is it's a little bit above our range, but it's maybe still ideal. And maybe I can even do some other searches to more get down to the level that I've set there. But what I can see here is that there's 1,800 views for this question. There's 9 answers. If I scroll down through the answers here, some of them are quite large. I wouldn't say they're amazingly formatted. There's not that many images in them. So what I might do is say, okay, this is potentially a question that I can answer and get to the first or second position relatively easily. So what I want to do then is, if I want to keep this question and save it for later, I can click on these 3 little dots that appear above the question here, and I'm going to go to answer later here. And now that will be added to really sort of a wish list for me that I can come back and answer anytime. And to access this list, what I can do is come up to answer here. I can come to answer later, and you can see I've already been doing this. I've got 41 questions here that I can come back and answer later. So that is really the first strategy. It's the rapid fire strategy. You don't want to just put 1 question in there. You might want to put 20, 30 questions in there, not just for 1 term, but maybe try and find a couple of terms and find those questions which don't have a lot of answers but have more views. And so that's the first strategy that you can take. Essentially, the process is add them to your answer later list. Now, the second approach that you can take is really the big game strategy. So you want to identify those questions with 100,000 plus views and 500 followers. So using the same search term, let me give you an example of this. And we looked at this earlier in the course. So here's a big question. I think it was this same question that we looked at. And I can see here that there's over 100 answers. I can see that there are 397,000 views, and also that there are 1,751 followers. So I haven't explained this yet. What are the followers? Essentially, when somebody updates an answer to this question, all 1,751 of these people will get a little notification up here saying that a new answer has been added to question X, and so then they can go and check it out. So that is the other approach, the big game strategy. However, be prepared to invest a lot more time crafting a more detailed answer. Also, it's going to be much harder to become the number one answer, but the key thing is that you can take advantage of the large number of followers on a question like that, and essentially you're using it like a mailing list. It's like having an email list without ever building an email list. So this is a really fantastic approach as well, but you will have to have a big answer in there for people to really pay attention to it. I think if you're just getting started, the rapid fire strategy is the way to go. You can get a couple of quick wins there and get some momentum going, and also get a bit of practice to carry out the structuring of the questions. So that's really where I would start. But essentially the process for now and your exercise for this lecture is really to search for a search term, find some of those questions for the rapid fire strategy using these metrics that I've highlighted there or close to it as possible. And then you just simply open up the question and then you click the three dots and you save to answer later. So that is the exercise for you in this lecture. Go ahead and do that. And then I'll see you in the next lecture where we're really going to choose or create a blog post to link back to. This is really the part now where we get those visitors, once you've answered the question, back to your website. I'll see you there.